you ready?
Welcome to Radical TV. We're here at Snetterton for another round of the Performance Direct Radical Clubman's Cup. Now, the weather, as you can see, is fairly dull. It has actually been raining all night, but the track should be fine by now. It's only if any of the cars come over the track onto the grass, then they could be in trouble. Now, for a number of the drivers here, this is actually the first time that they've raced out on the Snetterton 300 circuit. So let's see how they get on in qualifying. Found the Snetterton 300 track?
When I first went out, I thought, oh, I missed the old one. But now it's grown on me, and it's quite a technical track. It's you've got to get, obviously, the corners all flowing together and carry a lot of speed through. Obviously, the hairpins add in a bit of spice and should be some good overtaking.
We started off pretty wet. Couldn't see where we were going at the beginning, but slowly got quicker and quicker and quicker. So finished fourth overall, which weren't too bad.
It's a pretty good qualifying considering it's only your second race with Radical.
Yeah, it is. I was hoping a little bit better, but I'm always hard on myself.
And how did you find the conditions out there?
They were fairly good, actually. We sat a long time in the collection area, so it sort of allowed it to dry out a bit. I had a bit of an off, but I was just driving like a billy, really.
First time I've actually had a race weekend in the Radical, and yesterday was even the first time I've ever driven one of the cars, so it's quite an interesting start to Radical racing, really. It's been, especially in the wet, I've obviously never driven the car in the wet either, so all the acceleration, very interesting, very good fun, and quite a big learning curve, to be honest.
And how have you found the Snetterton 300 circuit?
It's a fun track. I thought when I saw the pictures that it was a bit too hard for me, too technical maybe. I like fast tracks, and but this was fun. It was really fun. It was a fast track.
There's some good corners. Hamilton's a fast corner. That's good. I've not quite mastered that yet, but yeah, some good overtaking spots. It's a good circuit, definitely better than the old one.
So Alice, congratulations, you qualified on pole, and your first time in a Radical was just yesterday, is that right?
Yeah, it was. First time ever in a Radical yesterday in the 30, I think I had 4 30-minute test sessions, and obviously first time in the wet today, and we're really, really pleased. Radical is a brilliant car. I've really enjoyed it, and Mansell Motorsport put together a fantastic car for me to drive.
And you've raced before as well in Ginetta and Renault, so how does racing with Radical compare?
Compared to Formula Renault that I'm racing at the minute, obviously the Renault has more downforce, so you just need to carry more speed through the corners in a Renault. But these are really stable cars, and also the Renault is quite stable as well, which I think has obviously helped me. I'm really surprised. I'm really impressed with the Radical.
What got you into racing in the first place?
I just always enjoyed it. None of my family were into motorsport. Usually you've got your father races or your uncle raced or whatever, but none of mine were. I just was a weird one and opted for motorsport.
So Mark, I know you're really busy right now. I can see you're working on the car yourself as we speak. You're leading your class and the Clubman's Championship at the moment. How's that feel?
It feels good, but I can feel it falling away from me.
Why is that?
I need to step up my pace somehow. Don't know how. Looking for answers.
You qualified 19th today, so what was the cause of that? Was it the conditions?
I can't blame the conditions. I'm just equally as bad as I was yesterday in the dry. So I'm struggling today.
How have you found the track here at Snetterton?
I like the new circuit, but I just can't get up to race pace on it. Or the old circuit, come to that. So it's just my bogey circuit, that's all.
So Fred, you've raced with Radical before in the Masters Series. How does that compare to the Clubman's Cup?
Well, it's hard to say. I haven't finished the race in Clubman's Cup yet, but I mean it's a real nice track, Snetterton, and I mean the arrangement seems just as professional as when you race in the Master Series.
And how did you find the wet conditions on the track today?
Well, to be honest, I haven't raced a whole lot in the wet with Radical, so I was a little nervous, but it seemed to work out nice. I got a good feel for the car and the track, and well, I'm quite happy. Well, it seems like the track has dried up, and so we'll kind of go back to, if it stays like this for the race, we'll go back to the settings we have for yesterday's practice.
So Bill, this is the first time this weekend that you've been out on the new 300 circuit here at Snetterton, and obviously you've been out on the previous circuit as well. Can you talk us through this lap you did in testing?
Yeah, certainly. Here we are coming up the start-finish straight, so we're hugging the wall here, going up through the gears. Third, fourth, fifth, then you get into sixth, probably doing about 140, 145 mile an hour. Looking for the 50-metre board, dab on the brakes, back to fifth and hard round the first corner. Hard right, flat out, using both of the curbs. Holding it in fifth as hard as you can, braking late. We've got a 180-degree corner coming up here. So we're down to second gear on this. It's a slow corner, just moving the car around. Up to third, up to fourth, hard as you can. Slight dab on the brakes, pretty blind corner this, and then onto the curb and let it push wide, right onto the, holding fourth gear, right onto the curb. Up to fifth gear. And we're coming hard into this 180-degree corner into fifth gear, looking for 75, 50-metre board, hard on the brakes. Down to second, through on the apex of the corner and through wide on the apex, under the covers, and then over onto fourth gear, clipping the curbs on both sides, coming down, braking hard down to second, again clipping the apex late, letting the car go wide, third, and into fourth, hard into fourth, quick dab on the brake or lift, onto the curb here, and it just pulls the car over to go wide onto the curbs, and then we're onto the straight, fourth gear, fifth gear, and sixth. It's flat out. We're doing maybe just over 150 mile an hour at the end of the straight. So we're looking for a 50 metre, hard on the brakes, down 2 gears, clipping the curb on the left, down 2 more gears, more brakes, through a little chicane, and then second, up to third, up to fourth, approaching the bomb hole here, flat out through the bomb hole, no lift at all, right over on the curb, and then we're coming to Coram, up into fifth, and then we're hugging going wide and then trying to cut the corner around, and the car's very unbalanced, and it's you've got a corner coming up on you, so you're braking while the car's turning, down to second gear, and then off we go again, up to third, up to fourth, up the pit straight to the finish line.
Well, the track seems to have dried up somewhat for the first of the 2 Clubman's Cup races that we've got here today. The cars are already lined up on the grid, ready to head out, so let's see how they get on in race 1.
Thanks very much, Lucia. Full grid as ever in the Performance Direct Radical Clubman's Cup. We get the green flag at the rear of the field. The first Radical race, the Snetterton 300 circuit, about to get underway. It's the blue car Alice Powell in pole position, David Jacobs alongside. Away we go. It's a good start from Powell. Will certainly bend the rest of the field. Also starting very well is Frederick Moberg, who looks to be flying through. And it's Moberg there. You can see hassling Alice Powell to lead the race. Also on the way is Darren Anley. He's the outside as they go into Riches for the first time. Mark Abbott also has made a good start in the second of the Pro Sports in car with David Jacobs. He challenges Darren Anley into Montreal for that third place, and Jacobs going to be hung out to dry here around the outside. Yes, through goes Andy Cummings, through goes Mark Abbott, so Jacobs shuffled down a little bit as Abbott looks inside of Andy Cummings into Palmer's, and it's Alice Powell that leads it with Frederick Moberg right on her tail, and then Darren Anley very much there or thereabouts. Powell having to go slightly defensive, so they charge down towards the hairpin. Agostini in car with Steve Burgess, very much in amongst the action here is Steve. Brake lights come on as they turn into the left-hand hairpin, one of the new corners here on the Snetterton 300 circuit. That's Nick Panzelli just ahead of him as through Hamilton. Very quick corner that one, and then breaking into Woggies, and Moberg still hassling Alice Powell. Don't forget they are in different classes here. We've got Alice Powell in the Super Sport class, Moberg in the Pro Sport class, but at the moment the Swede is rather enjoying his outing. There's his teammate David Surdland in the midfield. In car with David Franklin we ride now. Sean Mellors just ahead of him, turning into Oggies. First the 2 right-handers, but then lead them onto the Bentley straight. So they go through Oggies. Next corner up is Williams. Here we come into Williams, trying to keep the power through the corner, carry the speed onto the Bentley straight. Now here we go. This is a good run from David Franklin. He's going to draw alongside Sean Mellors here. So they charge on the Bentley straight. They're coming up to the corners formerly known as the S's, now Brundle and Nelson, recognising they really are two discrete corners. You can hear the engine howling under braking. Into Brundle we come, and I think David's done enough to make this move stick. Yes, he has. So through the right-hander at Nelson and on towards the bomb hole. Meanwhile, through Coram Curve and on to lead the first lap of the race, it is Alice Powell, but up into second place now has gone Darren Anley. So it must have been a slight error there from Frederick Moberg. Anley now is second, David Jacobs and Mark Abbott having a good battle, and there's a slight gap back to Gary Kane and the rest of the field. Andy Cummings, I think, has also had a couple of ventures. There's Mark Boot, Gary Baxter as well. So wherever you look around the field, plenty of dicing and action going on. This is what we enjoy in Full Star Radical Clubman's Cup. John Morris still very much in the thick of the action. Through Palmer comes Alice Powell. She's not breaking away here. Don't forget, this is her first ever Radical race. And Darren Anley, with more Radical cars under his belt, keeping her honest. In car with James Abbott. Into Montreal, the round goes James. So a moment there for James Abbott, who's won twice thus far this year. A characteristic error there from James. Let's see how he can recover his way up through the pack. Alice Powell, as this race progresses, seems to just be building a slight advantage over the fight for second. It's going well. No, she's not. That was the trick of the camera. Second and third are right there on her tail. Some great racing. Then we've got David Jacobs and Mark Abbott in very close attention as well. So it's still Alice Powell from Darren Anley and Frederick Moberg through Coram on towards Murray's. Now, is Darren Anley going to be able to try and find his way through past Alice here? They accelerate on to the centre straight once more, and Darren Anley is tucked right in her slipstream. Over the start and finish line, Frederick Moberg as well. Let's not discount him. Well, here's James Abbott. He's recovering up through the field. That's David Surdland on his tail. Now, David had all sorts of problems in qualifying this morning. Started back of the grid and is making some great progress up through the pack. Through Hamilton goes the race leader Alice Powell. And it's now the turn of Frederick Moberg to challenge us. So Moberg has found his way past Darren Anley, and look at this, the Swedish driver right on the tail of Alice Powell. Through Augies in car with Paul Marsham. It's David Surdland, James Abbott right in front of him. Through the hairpin at Montreal. Marsham unable to do anything about Surdland. Race leaders through Coram once more. The reprofile corner really does tighten into Murray's. Not a problem for Alice Powell, who's using this weekend very much as track time ahead of the Formula Renault UK rounds here a little bit later in the summer. David Jacobs, for the moment, has just been able to see off the challenger Mark Abbott. And then we've got Gary Kane with Bradley Smith right in his tail. Bradley Smith having a great start to the 2011 season thus far as he looks to gain places up through the order. Coram come the midfield runners, and a big moment there, and sliding wildly around is Nick Pantelli, and hasn't damaged that car at all. He should find a gear and rejoin the fray. Big moment for him as through Coram for the final time, and into Murray's is Alice Powell. This has been an absolutely stunning start to her Radical racing career, and she is going to win the first of the Performance Direct Radical Clubman's Cup races here at Snetterton. The checkered flag goes out, and Alice Powell claims the victory. Great drive from Alice into second place, winning the Pro Sport class. A superb drive from Frederick Moberg, with then Darren Anley in third position. John Morris it was who claimed the Club Sport honours after a hard and tenacious drive through the midfield. Alice Powell, a delighted winner, shaking hands with Frederick Moberg. So the applause from the Radical Clubman's Cup community, the photographers snapping away, and three very happy drivers on the podium.
Huge congratulations, Alice, on your first place win there. And you know that you are actually the first female winner for Radical for any race.
No, I didn't know that, so that's brilliant news. That's really, really good. I mean, it was a tricky start. I was put under quite a lot of pressure, but managed to hook the laps together and make a bit of gap. and saw some traffic and thought, oh no, please don't hold me up. But they did remarkable and got out of the way. So it was really, really good. And I'd like to thank Mansell Motorsport for giving me a really good car, and hopefully we'll do really well in the next race.
Absolutely. And will we be seeing you racing with Radical again after Snetterton?
I definitely hope so. It's a really great series, and I really love driving the cars. So thank you, Radical.
So Frederick, second place overall and first in the Pro Sports class. You must be feeling quite happy about that.
I am real happy. You know, when you almost have the first position, you tend to get a little dissatisfied with second. But this was my goal for the weekend, to win one of the races in my class. So I'm really happy.
Excellent. And you qualified fifth, so you managed to make it up quite a few places up to second. What were your challenges there?
Well, the start was kind of odd because the lights went out so fast. None of the guys in the front did a very good start, and actually I didn't either. But I mean, I was almost first into the first corner. So, but I had to back off because you don't want any contact between the cars. It's a long race, so.
Absolutely. And the fact that it was drier, did that make a positive difference to your race?
Hard to tell, but I think yeah. I'm not sure I would have been able to catch the second place if it was wet.
And how did you find the conditions? Obviously during qualifying it was quite wet, and now the track's managed to dry out a bit.
Yeah, it was great in qualifying. I like it like that. Just nice, and then it's just dry as a bone really now. There's an odd wet puddle where I got a bit sideways at one point in a couple of them, but not bad because they're only little puddles.
Radical Clubman's Cup. In the meantime, a big round of applause and the champagne for our class winners and class 4 genres, and Pro Sport class winners, second race overall, Frederick Bowles.
So David, just wanted to grab you for a quick chat about race 1. You managed to make up 20 places from your qualifying position.
Yeah, we had a perfect car, and the setup was perfect as well. I made a good start. I think that was the key to the success actually. I think I took 10 or 12 positions immediately.
So David, this is your first race for Radical, and you haven't actually done any racing before. What got you into it?
I think it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always fancied racing, just never had the time or the money to do it really. So I'm in a position there where I've got more time on my hands, and it feels like the right time for me to do it before I'm too old. Testing all day yesterday. I've done 2 or 3 track days before today, so I didn't walk into this completely cold. It's still quite a daunting experience on the grid for the first time today.
So Bandar, you've been racing in the Middle East Masters with Radical. What made you come over to the UK to do a race over here?
Well, last season I actually won the championship in the Middle East, so I thought I'd come and try my luck here and see how I fare against obviously better competition or higher competition. And it's been a great experience actually, my first race abroad. I've seen wet weather, I'm not used to driving actually on the right hand side. That's pretty new for me. But overall, I mean, I'm quite happy with the results that I've had this weekend.
And what is it like, having never really driven in the wet before, to suddenly come onto a raining racetrack?
Well, actually the beginning was quite intimidating. I had the spin actually my second lap out. But once I had the spin, actually, it built my confidence actually. I started to know where the limits were, and obviously the track was getting drier. So unfortunately I got stuck behind the slow car towards the end when the track was quite dry, because I got as high as I think 8th, and then I dropped down to 16th. But hopefully in the race we'll make that up.
The full field of cars assembled for race 2. Unfortunately, had a lengthy delay before they could get underway. When they did, though, it was Alice Powell who once more took the early lead.
Took it easy and cautious. I had a bit of a moment at Coram. There was a bollard, I think, and I could see it. I thought, oh, I'm going to hit that, and then just hit it, and there was a bit of vibration, but it was only 2 laps from the end, so it was fine.
I'm feeling very happy. I mean, the weekend couldn't been much more better for us. I mean, 2 second places, it's perfect, and class wins. So I'm real happy.
Really great. It's a brilliant win for Mansell Motorsport and myself and everyone that involved. So I'm really pleased, and I've really got on with the circuit, and hopefully if we raise enough money, we'll hopefully do a few more Radical races.
Well, that's it for today for the Performance Direct Radical Clubman's Cup. We hope that you've enjoyed watching, and we'll see you here on Radical TV next time.